Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Now, this is a spontaneous movie review. Just a very quick spoiler warning, just before we get any further, because if you haven't seen this film yet, and you're a fan of this type of movie, then, which is a zombie apocalypse zombie movie, then I suggest don't check this video out from this point on. Train to Busan is a 2016 South Korean zombie apocalypse action thriller. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho and starring Gong Yoo, Jung Yoo-mi and Ma Dong-seok. The film takes place on a train to Busan, as the title suggests, as a zombie apocalypse suddenly breaks out in the country and compromises the safety of the passengers. So that was just a little overview of what the movie is about. So it came out in 2016. I heard about it roughly about the same time of its release. But I will say I have been very judgmental on a lot of zombie flicks. There's been a lot of zombie stuff like The Walking Dead, and a lot of zombie movies that have been coming out from independent filmmakers, and some coming to cinemas and things like that. And they just haven't, for me personally, for what I've seen in the past, haven't really wowed me compared to some of the greats, some of the stuff by George Romero and other people that have also made some really good, pretty decent zombie flicks. Now, going into this movie, I knew nothing about it. I knew it was a zombie flick because I watched the trailer. The trailer obviously didn't really give too much away at the time, and it didn't really wow me. But it's a film that went completely unwatched until now, and I recorded it on Film 4, and I managed to catch it the second time around, and I recorded it. And I am quite surprised by how good it was. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It was a nice, refreshing, yet at the same time it was quite a stereotypical thing, because when it comes to the zombie thing, pretty much everything's been done before. In the past, obviously George Romero started off with the slow, grey painted people, actors, extras, even though you did see them feeding on other humans with, like, you see stuff like looks like blood, and you see like the guts, ripping out guts and things like that. You did see stuff like that in George Romero's stuff, but there wasn't rotten corpses. They were kind of just really crudely grey painted, face paint, body paint, stuff like that. Very crudely done, but very effective. And for me personally, I really love George Romero's films, except for Survival of the Dead, which is probably one of his worst films. I mean, I'm a big fan of his earlier works, and I have seen some pretty good films since. I'm not a fan of The Walking Dead either, even though I'm not going to go down that road. Getting back on track with this film, it's like I said, it's a South Korean zombie movie, and I'm a big fan of the South Korean horror films. I love how really clever, how good they are at psychological horror. I am a big fan of psychological horror, and you very rarely see psychological horror, or you do get it outside of South Korea. You do get it in American horror films and so on. You do see it, and those films stick in your subconscious. You remember them, and it's very rare now to have a film like that sticks with you. It's left a very interesting impact on you specifically, and this was a lovely, refreshing. The Train to Busan was a very refreshing horror film, zombie horror film, that I truly enjoyed from start to finish. It had a really, really interesting premise. It was a very simple premise. The whole idea of the film is that the whole thing, well, not the whole thing. There is part there. It starts off, it follows a young man who has separated from his wife. He's kind of like a single father at the moment, due to the relationship going south. He is living with his mom, or his mom's moved in with him because of ill health. Either way, the relationship went south with the young man, the main character. He becomes like the main character in the film. So it follows that whole relationship thing on his side. You never actually see his wife in the film, even though the whole premise is that his daughter, his young daughter, wants to see her mother for her birthday. Her birthday's coming up. So that is the reason why they ended up on the train in the first place. So they're on the train, and everything seems fine. The little girl, her dad falls asleep as you do on this train. His daughter goes for a little wander. A couple of really weird, a woman and a guy, kind of manage to get past the conductor of the train and end up. One woman's been bitten, and another guy is someone who managed to run away. I think he might be like a homeless guy that was in the train station, and one guy's a survivor, and one woman, she's been bitten. So that is the main reason why the infection spread in the train for the first place, and it is really quite a very clever how the transition of the virus works. The infection, obviously, it's through a bite. It's a typical zombie film. It's through a bite, but it's how the infection works. It's in some cases it's very quick, and in others, depending on how you've been bitten or where you've been bitten, it will take a little bit longer. And it's very interesting is that at the beginning, they don't necessarily. Some of them turn very quickly, and again, it kind of depends on where you've been bitten as well, like I just mentioned. But there was a few instances where some of the people that were trying to survive, obviously, that did get bitten, but their bit of their subconscious was still there. So they were kind of like there was some points in the film, like more near the end, where there's an absolute arsehole who pretty much causes the deaths of a few people, just for him to run away because he's a coward, and obviously he's terrified, but he doesn't care about anybody else but himself. And he gets his comeuppance at the end of the film he ends up being bitten, but he doesn't realise he's being bitten. He's kind of panicking. His eyes, when in this film, their eyes go completely grey, so it's like they're blind. And then their skin goes grey, starts to go grey, and you start to see veins, like rigor mortis is setting in. It's kind of that type of look. Also, so I'll get back to him, and that's how he looks, but he remembers, his subconscious is still there for a little bit. Even though he's turned, his subconscious, he can still remember his mom, he can still remember where he lives. He's kind of like asking the other survivors to help him and things like that, but the virus takes over his subconscious, and he ends up becoming a rabid, killing zombie again. So yeah, it's really clever. You've got that side of it, and then you've got the also what I love as well is that they obviously had some contortionist actors or stunt doubles, whatever, in this film, because the way some of them kind of moved, and the way that they kind of like stepped over the chairs on the train, like stepping over the chairs to get at somebody, and then how some of them come back from being bitten and they die and then they come back as a zombie. There's a couple of points where it's like rigor mortis is setting really quickly, and you hear their joints start to crack. So it's a little bit like The Grudge, where you hear that everything's cracking, every joint cracks, and I love that. It's so eerie, but it's just captivating. That I felt this film from start to finish was incredibly captivating. I couldn't take my eyes off it for a second, and it's very rare I see a horror film like that I can't take my eyes off. I was rooting for the survivors. Very rare that I do that, but I was rooting for the few that did survive until the end. But yeah, so there's two people that survive the film. It's a little girl and a pregnant woman. The father of the girl passes away. He gets bitten. But it's really beautiful of how they covered his death. He actually he manages, after being bitten, he manages to save his daughter and the pregnant woman, shutting them away separately and kind of like talking to his daughter before the virus took over him completely. Then he goes outside and goes to the end of the train, and he remembers in his subconscious his daughter being born. So yeah, he remembers his little girl, his baby, holding her. You see him actually smile before the virus properly takes over him. He's smiling. He can, in his subconscious, in his head, he in like a dream state, he remembers it, and it's a lovely, touching thing. And in the background, you can hear his daughter screaming for him, and it's heartbreaking. It really, really is heartbreaking. It's horrible, but that's the nature of the film, you know. But unfortunately, but anyway, I'm glad that the little girl did survive. I'm glad they weren't too horrible and let the little girl get killed as well. But anyway, so the little girl survives and the pregnant woman. So yeah, they end up going down a tunnel they end up getting to Busan at the end, and the military end up going into the arms of the military, and I think that's pretty much it. It ends just like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna quick overview. I've been talking a bit longer than I planned with this video, but it was a very good film. I really enjoyed it. I do love a good zombie film, and it's been a while since I've seen one that I've really enjoyed. I do recommend this film to anybody that likes anything horror or anything about the whole. If anyone that's a fan of a zombie film, if you like this kind of film, I recommend it. It is a very, very good, very clever. It has some really quite clever, even though I've seen it all before, but it's just the idea of it being in a big, very space limited scenario on a train. You know, it's kind of like that. What if a zombie apocalypse happened and you was on a train and somebody that got on the train was bitten? It would literally just go through the train like a fireball. It really would. It would work its way straight through the train like a fireball, and it's very difficult to defend yourself against a zombie outbreak on a train. And how they tackled that was really quite clever. And yeah, it's a South Korean horror film and I've not seen any bad horror films from South Korea at the moment. I still want to check out plenty more because there's loads, but I really do recommend it. I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching this review of Train to Busan, the 2016 South Korean zombie apocalypse film. Thank you very much again. I'll be back very soon with more videos, and until next time, stay awesome, peace, and see you soon. Bye bye.